Now, this is what we should be talking about as South Africa. So, okay, this is the type of news that we should be paying attention to because it affects our daily lives. The Department of Home Affairs has released a draft white paper on immigration, citizenship, and refugee protection. Now, we have an opportunity to fix an immigration system, but we have until the 31st of January 2026. What does this mean? We can have a say as to who enters South Africa, who can become a citizen, how refugees are treated, and how visas work. Now, they are asking for us to give a contribution to the Department of Home Affairs, ukuthi in the policies, what do we want to see? What are the experiences that we've had seeing with the immigration system in South Africa? How is it affecting you positively and negatively? And whatever it is that your thoughts are, then you submit to the Department of Home Affairs. But Prince Mtombeni, my friend, has made this so easy for us. So she is part of the SACR. I will put all the links in the caption for you to put in your contributions. So she will be gathering, you can submit to her on her Google form. She'll consolidate everything and then she will submit on behalf of all of us. Now, I encourage every movement, every organization to contribute towards this as well and submit from their side because what SACR says is that the white paper does not go far enough because it talks about good principles without clarifying or clearly enforcing them. So now we need to ensure that there is clarity and it's just not a policy that is open ended and there is no clarity. For an example, if you get asylum to South Africa, how long will that be? What are the laws? What are the systems? There needs to be follow up so that there is order. So these are all the things that we need to contribute and push for as a country. And I will stitch Prince Mtombeni's video for more clarity. Please listen.
Nizwile, government has published the draft revised white paper on citizenship, immigration, and refugee protection. And they have invited us, the public, to review it and make our submissions. Do you know what that means? It means we have an opportunity to influence the outcome if this government genuinely listens to us. Let's talk about it. Hi guys, my name is Prince Mtombeni Umaduma, a co-founder of South Africans for Constitutional Reform. I want to explain to you what this paper says, what it gets right, and where it fails to deal with realities on the ground. The white paper covers immigration visas, asylum seekers, refugees, permanent residents, and citizenship. In simple terms, it decides who can enter South Africa, who can stay, who can work, and who can ultimately become a citizen. While there are changes worth acknowledging, government is trying to fix Home Affairs system through digitization and better systems. Immigration, asylum, and citizenship are brought into a single framework. Skills-based visas are introduced. The white paper also introduces the first safe country principle and admits Uguti asylum system has been abused. Those are good admissions, but of course, admissions are not solutions. South Africa is facing extreme unemployment. Millions of South Africans, especially young people, cannot find work. Yet, what we see in reality is large-scale economic immigration happening through the asylum system and weak visa controls. People enter this country as asylum seekers and end up working indefinitely, not because they are fleeing war or persecution, but because South Africa has become an easier option. We have to be fair, guys. South Africa cannot be the refugee camp or job market for the entire world, especially when its own people are struggling to survive. And I have to be clear, South Africans are not xenophobic. We just want order. Compassion without control is not kindness. It is chaos. The white paper does not confront this honestly enough. It does not clearly prioritize South African workers. It does not draw the line between scarce skills and ordinary jobs in an economy under severe strain. The pressure doesn't stop with jobs. It shows up in public clinics and hospitals where nurses are overwhelmed, in RDP housing waiting lists that stretch for decades, and in overcrowded public schools. You cannot integrate people who have nothing into communities that already have nothing and act shocked when there's anger, tension, and sometimes violence. That is not compassion. That is policy failure. On asylum, the white paper acknowledges abuse and introduces the first safe country principle, but it remains vague on enforcement. Acknowledging a principle on paper is meaningless if it's not applied in practice. Asylum must be temporary protection for people in real danger, not a long-term workaround to live and work in South Africa. The white paper talks a lot about integration, but it does not seriously deal with capacity. It also avoids one of the biggest realities on the ground. There are millions of people who are already in this country illegally, and the document is not clear on what government plans to do about that. Silence is not a plan. That's why as SACR, we are proposing a clear guiding principle that we believe must be written into this policy. Our proposed wording is simple. All immigration, asylum, permanent residence, and citizenship statuses are privileges granted in the national interest and are conditional on continued compliance with the laws and constitutional order of South Africa. Without this clarity, enforcement will always fail. We also say asylum must return to its original purpose: temporary protection for people fleeing real danger, not a long-term alternative to economic migration. Now, that's where the first safe country principle should be enforced in practice, not just mentioned in policy. On visas, we propose clear objective grounds for revocation, such as fraud, misrepresentation, criminal conduct, or actions that threaten public order or the national interest. In many countries, visas are conditional and can be withdrawn. So South Africa must not feel afraid to govern itself. Now, let me address our government. Public participation must not be treated as a box-ticking exercise. South Africans are paying attention and they expect their concerns to be taken seriously. The white paper is open for comments until the 31st of January 2026. Tina, as SACR, we are busy preparing a formal submission, but we don't want to do it alone. We want to carry the voices of South Africans with us. That's why we have created a Google form. Please check the link in my bio. You can do two things when you get there. If you want to share your views in your own words, you can do so. But if you don't feel like writing anything, you can simply sign the Google form, authorizing SACR to submit on your behalf. That signature will count as part of a petition supporting stronger, clearer immigration laws. Now, our submission deadline, SACR submission deadline, is 26 January 2026. This will give us enough time to compile all public inputs and submit one consolidated submission. If you want your voice included, please don't wait until the last minute. So if Ufananam, you believe that immigration laws affect your job prospect, your public health care facilities, your public schools, your communities, or your sense of what South Africa should be, then this is your moment to speak. Don't stay silent and complain later. Remember what I said. Compassion without control is not kindness. It's chaos. Thank you for watching.